I betrayed my devoted husband and eventually married the man I had an affair with. Now, karma has come back in a way I never saw coming. My best friend ended up marrying my ex-husband. David and I divorced in 2019, a decision that felt right at the time. He found out early in the pandemic that I had been unfaithful to him with a local waiter named Caleb. When he confronted me, I didn't deny it. I admitted I had fallen out of love and thought separating would be for the best. To his credit, David handled it with remarkable composure. Our divorce was peaceful, no shouting matches, no legal battles over assets or money. We simply went our separate ways. He moved 2 hours away to a smaller city, closer to his new job and a university where he was pursuing his PhD. I stayed behind with Caleb, who later became my husband. David and I agreed to stay civil. I even reached out on his birthday and sent him a gift when he graduated, but I never heard back, not even a simple thank you text. I found it odd, especially since David was always thoughtful, the type of person who would write thank you notes even to acquaintances. Others, including my parents and his sister, told me they'd received handwritten messages from him. But I got nothing. Not a word. I tried not to overthink it, telling myself he just needed space and time to heal. Meanwhile, I focused on my life with Caleb. He had 3 children from a previous marriage, and with a baby on the way, we were busy merging our families and juggling our work and home life. I was overwhelmed, and so was my best friend Rachel. She lived in the same city as David, and I hadn't heard from her much. Rachel, a brilliant lawyer and part-time professor, was the kind of friend who could disappear for months when she was wrapped up in something, and I never thought much of it. The last message I got from her was in late 2021. She mentioned being stressed about work, and I assumed she was in a new relationship. It wasn't unusual for her to go silent when dating someone. That summer, Caleb and I visited the city where both David and Rachel lived. I tried calling Rachel a few times, hoping to catch up, but she never answered. I was disappointed but not shocked, figuring she was either busy or dating again. I spent time with other friends and moved on. Then, in October, I returned for a Halloween party hosted by an old college friend. I went alone, hoping to see Rachel. When I walked in, I spotted her dressed as Cleopatra, sipping wine near the bar. When I approached, she looked startled, giving me a limp hug and a weak smile. "Hey," I said, trying to keep things light. "I tried calling you over the summer." She blinked and said, "I was on my honeymoon. Sorry I didn't get back to you." I froze. "Honeymoon? You got married?" She nodded, her face unreadable. "Yeah, it's David." The blood drained from my face. My ears buzzed, and I could hardly believe what I was hearing. "What?" I began, but she interrupted me. "You don't get to be upset," she said coldly. "You broke his heart. We didn't even start talking until 2 years after your divorce. You picked a guy who served you coffee over a man who gave you everything he had." I was stunned, speechless. I spent the rest of the weekend numbing the pain with alcohol, trying to process the betrayal. My best friend, the woman I had confided in for years, had married the man I once planned to spend my life with, the man I had betrayed. And she hadn't even told me. When I returned home, everything felt different. I couldn't look at Caleb the same way. I was irritable and distant with the kids. I spent hours looking at old photos, remembering the things I thought I had buried. David's laugh, the way he would pull me into his arms after a long day, his quiet forgiveness, and the silence that would settle in when he was hurt. A few weeks later, Caleb exploded. We had a huge argument. He accused me of cheating again. I broke down and told him everything about David and Rachel, the wedding, the hurt. Caleb scoffed. "I've known about them for a while. It's all over social media. You just didn't want to see it." His words hit me like a punch to the gut. I screamed at him for not telling me, for letting me spiral, for not saying anything when I kept wondering why Rachel had never returned my calls. "You still love him," he said flatly. "I don't," I shouted, my voice breaking. "If I didn't, it wouldn't bother me so much." We fought until dawn. I left for work without sleeping and ended up crashing at my parents' house, needing space. But when I returned a few days later, nothing had changed. We argued again. Caleb accused me of emotionally cheating. You wouldn't care this much if you were really over him, he said. You wouldn't act like someone died. I lashed out, calling him stupid and telling him he didn't understand because he didn't have real friends. It was cruel and unfair, and I regretted it immediately, but I couldn't stop myself. I was drowning in grief and bitterness. That night, I lay awake, reflecting on everything I had lost. I made a choice years ago, thinking I was chasing happiness, thinking love was about excitement and spontaneity. But with David, it had been steady, kind, and deep. And I threw it all away for a man who made me feel wanted in the moment, but didn't understand me the way David had. And now Rachel, my best friend, had taken my place. She got the man who remembered birthdays with flowers and handwritten notes. The man who read in bed beside me, who kissed my forehead before leaving for work. The man I once promised to love forever. Rachel hadn't returned my calls because she had become part of the world I had abandoned. The world I thought I could replace with something new, but the foundation was cracked. I can't help but wonder if this is what karma truly looks like. Not with fury, but with silence. Being forgotten by the very people you can't stop thinking about. I wanted closure, an explanation, but all I received was the painful truth. Some losses are permanent. Some doors, once closed, never open again.